Wicked for Good arrives in theaters this weekend, and it is said to have already some of the biggest previews of any movie this year, which is a huge deal. So this could be some very big numbers for Universal Studios. Now we'll see if that's the case or not on Monday. Big question I have is, let's say Wicked for Good is just as a hit as the first film, right? And the first film had, I believe the budget for both films was maybe $300 million altogether, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm mistaken. What exactly would that mean if this film does better than the first one that made over 700 million? Let's say this one hits maybe 900 or 800. I'm not sure if it hits $1 billion, right? But if it does hit that 800, both films collectively have made around $1.6 billion, which is far exceeding the $700 million both films needed to make together in order to be considered hits. Does that mean we get a third film? Of course, there is more story to tell that goes beyond the musical from Broadway, because the Broadway musical is based on the book, and in that book, they made a sequel, and that sequel is called Son of a Witch. And this is actually very interesting to me, that if we were to get another movie, do we see Son of a Witch be adapted in some way, which would take some working around it, because there is some revisioning that goes on in the Wicked musical from the Wicked book. So they could make a way around it. So basically, that's my question here, and we'll talk briefly about what that could look like. But first, we have heard many of the stars here say that there is a very good chance that this is in the end. Ariana Grande says that, but she also says that that doesn't exactly mean that they are already working on Wicked 3. By the way, nobody has said that they're working on Wicked 3. This is all hypothetical asking, because we know studios, they love the ka-ching, so they could find a way to sort of bring this into a third film. And we've also heard other of the people that worked on this film, like Bowen Yang, said, no, this is it. This is where we leave it. John Chu has said, let's just see this ride, how it goes, and then maybe we'll see what happens, but you never know, right? And that's the big question here is, do we never know, or do we kind of know with how they like to be, right, with all of these things? Well, one of the writers on Speaking to Deadline had this to say. They said, there's been some speculation about a Wicked 3. Do you have it in you for another film? What do you think Galinda, Fiyero, and Elphaba would get up to? Fox, who's the screenwriter, says, well, I would be honored if anyone asked me to be a part of Wicked 3. And I think that they are such beloved characters that seeing what they were up to, I mean, to me, that moment when Elphaba says in voiceover, I know she can never know that we're alive, I was like, somebody feels like they're asking to find out that they're alive at some point. That feels really like, hello. That's spicy to me. I love the idea that we would meet up with them again someday. My daughter personally wants a prequel, so I do what my kids say. I'm like, sure, prequel sounds great, but honestly, it would be an honor to be involved in any of it if it happened. But again, sometimes I think the best things in life are the ones you want to take care of, like they're the most delicate treasure, and sometimes that means not stepping on what's very, very good. So that means that we don't know, right? So it's like we're just pretty much here just anticipating what they say. And I would not bet out that we won't get a sequel at some point or a remake, because it is Hollywood. They love to do remakes, and they love to continue franchise. I mean, we got Toy Story 5. They said Toy Story 3 was the end, and here we are. So what exactly would a sequel entail? So we're just going to go through a brief rundown of Son of a Witch, which isn't like crazy. And I won't really dive deep into details of it, because I think that I don't want to spoil things if you want to read that. But I did briefly go over some of the plot points in it and what exactly would Wicked 3 entail if they decide to go with something. I mean, they don't have to. They could do their own story. They've already done different things from the musical, and the musical did different things from the book. That's why adaptations are great, because they can sort of pull what you took most out of a piece of media, and you can showcase however you want. But in Son of a Witch, we learn that Elphaba has a son with Fiyero, and this son is named Lear. I think that's how you pronounce it, Lear. And Lear pretty much comes into the events of the end of The Wizard of Oz, so that's where it's kind of different already, right? Because this is like Wicked for Good took place during those events and all that, and we saw that, whereas here we would learn that Elphaba secretly had a son, and even she didn't know about it because she was like in a coma. It gets kind of crazy in the book with all of these things here. Also in the books, I don't believe Fiyero is the Scarecrow. I think Fiyero is still Fiyero, and the Scarecrow is just the Scarecrow. So that's a lot lot of different things already happening from the book to the musical to the movie and so on and so forth. But pretty much the whole thing here is Lear tries to come and make himself be like known and sort of find his purpose as well. The reason that he's doing this is because in the book, Elphaba has now died. And we see that Lear is trying to sort of find purpose now. Maybe it's through the wizard, but the wizard eventually leaves, as we know, eventually crossing paths with Glinda the Good. And that starts to develop a whole thing here. Now, I don't think that in the film they would ever kill Elphaba, and I think it doesn't make sense at this point with the musical, how it was adapted, and the movie itself was adapted from the musical. So Elphaba's death would not happen, I think, in Wicked 3. But I would definitely find it interesting to see maybe that Lear decides to go back to Oz after Elphaba and Fiyero have ventured away, right? And they decide to try and find this land that their mother was from that pretty much exiled her, and try to find a purpose there, and eventually meeting all of these other people that were there at some point. So, and by the way, Fiyero actually does die in the Wicked book. He is killed by the wizard's police, so that is where it's different than the musical itself. So I could do a whole thing where we talk about the differences between the book and the musical and the movie if y'all want. That could be a whole other video. We're Wicked pilled, I told y'all. So I think we'll do a couple more Wicked videos before November ends. Stay tuned for that. But yes, Fiyero is dead in the book, but they could just change that here in the movie as well as they did in the musical, where Fiyero is the Scarecrow. So if they want to do Wicked 3, maybe like in 10 years or 5 years, maybe once Ariana and Cynthia are a little older and they've had more projects to be done, and this is going to be like a return to vibes, right? With a like teenage Lear or young adult Lear trying to figure out what exactly happened here and sort of recounting the story again. That'd be kind of dope, I think. And that's pretty much what Wicked 3 would look like if they decide to go based off the books. Like I said, they don't have to, but the money speaks to these people in Hollywood and the executives. So I don't think this hasn't been talked about yet already in a board meeting or something like that. They're pretty much waiting to see box office results. They want to see, once the dust, then the smoke has settled, how much money did we really make off of the franchise, and can we get another one like coming out maybe in 5 or 10 years, right? I think that's pretty much what's going on here, but we'll see. Let me know if you read the book, Son of a Witch. Let me know what you think about the idea of Wicked 3 potentially showcasing this. There's other books in the series, so Wicked 4 or 5. I know I'm getting too ahead of myself right now, but like I said, they're doing Toy Story 5, and I just thought it'd be fun to look into what exactly could happen. I love hypotheticals and thinking of what exactly is next, and this was just something that crossed my mind here. I would definitely want to look further into the books and all of that, so if you want that, I probably could do that and make another video for y'all, but just want to get this one out by the weekend. And I know Wicked for Good's like just coming out and people are barely watching it, so yeah. I'm curious to know your thoughts and opinions. Do we get Wicked 3? Should we not get Wicked 3? Did it end in a good place? To me, I'm okay if we don't get Wicked 3, by the way. I'm not here saying I want another Wicked. I thought that the finale was great. I thought For Good was just a beautiful send-off and a goodbye, not just for Glinda and Elphaba, but to us as the viewer. So I'm okay. You don't have to give me Wicked 3. But I'm just curious. What do you think about Wicked 3, if it could happen or not? And what would you love to see from it? Comment down below. But as always, that's going to do it for me. I'll see all of you next time. Check out my ending explained on Wicked for Good, my review, tons of other stuff coming this weekend. Stranger Things next week, y'all. I'm super excited. But as always, I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.